The information provided on this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Reliance on any information provided here is solely at your own risk. Welcome to the Birth Baby Podcast. Each week, you'll find guidance, encouragement, and practical tools to support you through pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum journey. I'm your host, Ciarra Morgan, a certified birth and postpartum doula, hypnobirthing educator, and pediatric sleep consultant. I'm also the owner of a doula agency in Austin, Texas, and the founder of the Birth Baby Academy, where I offer classes for both parents and birth professionals. Thanks for being here. Hello, everyone. Today we have an episode with a sensitive topic, so I do want to give a little bit of a trigger warning that this episode discusses domestic violence. If this topic is difficult for you, feel free to skip it or listen with support. I have a special guest with me today, Laramie Gorbett. She is an expert in domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking, and has dedicated her career to advancing trauma-informed, survivor-centered care. She brings more than 2 decades of experience working alongside survivors of gender-based violence in both domestic and international contexts, and she currently serves as at Safe Austin or Safe Alliance, where she works to secure funding in support of survivors' complex and multifaceted needs. I am so thankful that you are joining me today. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, I'm really happy to have this opportunity to come and talk to you today.
Yeah, I really wanted to talk about this. I've been wanting to for a long time. I've been trying to wait to find the person that I want to talk to about it. I've been searching. So this was not an accident that I found you. And I recently did an episode that was a birth story episode with a mom who was a survivor of domestic violence. And she was talking about all of the roadblocks that she encountered throughout her pregnancy, postpartum. It was just really, really tough for her. And it just made me really even more so want to have this discussion, because I think that a lot of people don't realize that during pregnancy, a lot of changes actually come and risk factors change for domestic violence. So would you help us understand how pregnancy does change those risk factors or dynamics in an abusive relationship?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for bringing light to this topic that is not pleasant. And I do appreciate you giving that trigger warning, because this is a difficult topic, whether you are dealing with a pregnancy, whether you are supporting somebody through it, or you are a survivor yourself. So I do appreciate that. So just a little bit of context. I've had the opportunity to do direct service. So I've worked directly with survivors at domestic violence shelters, at rape crisis centers. I was a victims counselor at Travis County Sheriff's Office. I've had the opportunity to work with survivors internationally. And I have also had the opportunity to do training, technical assistance, and really work with social service organizations to help provide best practices and that trauma-informed services. And now working at SAFE, my role is a little bit different. I am on the development team and helping to raise funds for SAFE. But I'm able to refer back to the time where I really did work directly with survivors, as well as referring back to my education, where I really studied the root causes of gender-based violence. And so this is something that I've been passionate about my entire adult life, and the majority of, the time growing up. I started volunteering as a children's advocate at Women's Protective Service in Lubbock at 19 years old, and then started working there. And so it's been something, that's not just a passion of mine, but, probably a driving force in the work that I do and the things that I'm passionate about. So when you go back, all the way back from the beginning of time, and you think about violence against females from an evolutionary, biological, and cultural perspective, the root of it comes down to control over reproduction. And so whether we're talking about humans or non-human primates, that is what the research suggests. And that's also what people experience. So when a person is pregnant, there are so many changes that is happening for that individual in their life, in their body, in their mind, and in the environment around them. And so if there is a propensity for their partner to be violent, if there are already red flags that this relationship could be unhealthy, controlling, etc., pregnancy is a time that can really accelerate those concerns because everything that's happening with that partner who is pregnant is completely out of control of that other person. And so whether or not they are excited about the pregnancy, whether it's a planned pregnancy and they're actually looking forward to having a family together, if it is an unplanned pregnancy, this is the time when they do not have control. And when we look at domestic violence and sexual assault, it is about power and control. And so this is actually one of the most dangerous times for a person who is in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people who are in these situations don't realize it. And we know that domestic violence doesn't generally start with something super harsh. It's usually a very slow lead up
Mhm.
and, a little bit, more, a little bit more. And so they may not notice that they personally are at risk of this. And then a lot of times that catalyst can be the pregnancy. So, what are some signs, the common warning signs of domestic violence during pregnancy? And are there any signs that might be subtle or easy to miss for friends and family that people can look out for?
Absolutely. So this is a really important conversation to have. And, every survivor's experience is different. However, there are documented patterns of behavior that we see over and over. And as I mentioned, it's about power and control. And when that person feels like they don't have control over the pregnancy, over the other individual's body who's experiencing the pregnancy, they seek control in other areas. So, whether that is being more controlling over finances, purchases, whether they're related to the birth of the child or not, whether it is more controlling on who they have interactions with, whether that is monitoring who they're talking to, the frequency of them talking to them, whether that's close friends or somebody that they could perceive. Um, as somebody that they shouldn't be talking to because they should be focusing on their relationship with them, or even behaviors like, well, you're pregnant, you're about to have a baby, you shouldn't be going out and meeting your friends, you should be at home, you should be getting enough rest, you should be eating the vegetables. So even things that in some context you would think as being thoughtful, like, oh, let's make sure you're eating plenty of folic acid and getting all your vitamins and your protein. Oh, let's make sure, that you have time to rest, to really take care of yourself. Let's work to minimize stress. So in some contexts, it could be seen, oh, this is a really thoughtful partner. But when it becomes a pattern of behavior and when it moves beyond just being concerned or suggesting behavior that could be helpful to the requirement, to the not allowing somebody to do something, when it comes to restricting that individual's autonomy. So whether that's their bodily autonomy, whether that is, their choice to whether to keep working or not, or to keep working out, or who that individual, wants to see and spend time with. So all of those things can accelerate, and anything that is physical and not just pushing and shoving, but things that, throwing things, breaking things, screaming, yelling, slamming doors, all of those things can trigger a trauma response. And all of those things, can definitely increase the amount of stress and cortisol in somebody's body. And all of those can have, very negative impacts on the individual's emotional well-being, but physiologically, we know that those impacts can be compounded. And so, it's not usually just one time. It's usually, like I said, a pattern of behavior. And part of a domestic violence cycle is it's not bad all the time. There are periods when things are good, when things are hopeful, and there's a lot of hope, if somebody, especially when somebody's been trying and really, wanted to start a family with somebody. But then these incidents happen. There can be violence, there can be controlling behavior. And then the partner may feel shame. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean this, just the stress, the money, the work, all of these things. I'm just so nervous about the baby coming. And so then that behavior can be kind of explained away and rationalized. And then a person who's wanting to have a safe and happy family and a home, they're thinking, oh, well, I'm stressed out too, or these hormones, or maybe I yelled, or maybe, I shouldn't have, pushed them to talk about this when I knew that they were stressed. So, people rationalize that behavior, and then things get better for a while, and then something else will happen. And the pattern starts all over again. And then we know that the danger can definitely escalate. And then that's when things get really dangerous.
Yeah, I spoke with somebody who was a survivor, and she said, all those red flags when you're in love look pink, and I love pink. She, in that example that you just gave of it not always being, it masks itself as caring. And
Right.
I, as a birth doula, will see little signs like being very opinionated about where they're giving birth or who their provider is.
Right.
And it makes it sound like, well, I'm just so worried. What if something happens to you? And then, of course, they're like, well, I am worried about, I don't want him to be worried about me when I'm in labor. And yes, of course, that is a real thing. That's not
Right.
always control, but it's just one of the things that I've
Right.
seen in some of these relationships that are, in my looking and me, I'm seeing like, oh gosh, that is a little bit of a red flag.
Mhm.
I'm seeing some signs there.
Right.
And I think too, it's important for people to realize that not all abuse is physical. And so
Absolutely.
that financial abuse you're talking about, the autonomy, taking away options, making things a requirement. Many people don't realize that they're even in a domestic violence situation because they're like, well, he's not
Mhm.
hitting me. And
Right.
it doesn't often start with hitting you. It's
Right.
usually a much more
It's a
slow lead up.
progression. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there is not a lot of healthy relationship being modeled out there. Not everybody grows up having healthy relationships modeled for them. It's not something that usually is taught in schools, although SAFE does have an amazing program called Expect Respect, and they've been around for 38 years and actually partner with schools in the Austin Travis County area where they go in and do that very thing, talk
Oh,
to young
wow.
people on their level about what healthy relationships look like and
Oh,
what to
that's so
do. What
needed.
are those red flags? What are the green flags? And so that's really, really important work. And it's not nearly as widespread as it should be. And so if somebody's already experienced violence, especially growing up, it changes their ability to trust. It changes their ability to know what a healthy relationship is. And there are certain abusers out there, people who perpetrate violence, who have a pattern of violence and power and control. They specifically look for people who didn't have all of their needs met. And so they come in and they start meeting those needs. So whether that's love, acceptance, actual food, clothes, place to live, and they can see somebody's vulnerability and they know how to manipulate. And so they know how to say everything that anybody's ever wanted to hear. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So they say things like, you deserve to be loved. You deserve to be treated with respect. I would never hurt you like so and so hurt you. I would never treat you like your parents treated you. I'm going to be the one to protect you and to give you a different life. We're going to have a different life. Our family is going to be different. And who doesn't want to hear that, especially if you've already, been hurt or experienced trauma. And so in the beginning, it's that, walking on air before it turns to walking on eggshells, before it returns to walking on glass. And so, there's a lot of shame and judgment that survivors experience. not just from the outside, but, from themselves and close family and friends. And you think, well, how could anybody get into a relationship like that? And as we talked about, it doesn't start off that way. And there is, a certain amount of hopefulness when starting a family with somebody and wanting things to be better and, almost having, well, if I can just try enough, if I can be the best wife or the best mom, if I can be strong enough to deal with this, things are going to get better. And when there's abuse and violence and power and control, when those dynamics are present, it does not get better. It gets worse. And things can be very dangerous.
It's interesting too. I mean, this is across socioeconomic backgrounds. It really penetrates all people. Everyone is vulnerable to this. But yes, there are certain risk factors, like you were speaking about, like those family dynamics from childhood and having domestic violence in their family as children, that kind of increase those risk factors or make them more of a target for those people who are predating on them. So if someone finds that they themselves are being, they realize, oh my goodness, I am, you could even be listening to this episode, right? Or they already knew that they are experiencing this. Or if a family or friend notices that something is going on, for both of those situations, could you tell me, how someone could help safely, or what is the safest way to offer support if you're a family member or a friend?
Absolutely. So just being there and saying that, you care about them, you want to support them in whatever way possible, and really, really trying to, and this is the really hard part, to resist saying you should do that. You should do this, because the survivor, the individual, has to be empowered to make the decision that's best for them. And so one of the things that happens is that autonomy and that power and that decision making has been taken away by that abusive partner. And so even though friends and family can be extremely well-meaning, if you come in and say, no, you have to do this, you have to leave them, you have to do this, then that's taking that power and that choice away again. The other thing is that it can feel really overwhelming, knowing how complicated and complex many of these situations are, especially if somebody does not have unlimited resources. And most people do not have unlimited resources of money, time, a separate place to move, access to their own health insurance. All of these things are very real factors. And the fact that if a person is in an abusive relationship and they leave, especially if they're pregnant or have just had a child, that is literally the most dangerous time. And this is really, really scary to think about that. But the number one killer of pregnant women is not accident. It's not preeclampsia. It's not all the things that can happen when you're giving birth. It's murder. And that's by their partner. It's not by a stranger. And that's a really, really, really scary thing to think about. And there's a statistic that says in 2018 to 2019, the homicide rate for women ages 15 to 44 was 16% higher among those who were pregnant or within 1 year of pregnancy, compared to those that were not. And almost half of homicides to women were pregnant or within 1 year of pregnancy. And that's because of a result of intimate partner violence. And so we want to be there. We want to be able to provide support. We want to be able to help with safety planning. And that's why organizations like SAFE exist. That's why we have, a 24-hour hotline that people can call, text, chat. And I'll say that number real quick.
Thank you.
It's 512-267-SAFE. So 512-267-7233. And so when somebody calls that or text or chat, they are met with a highly trained advocate coming from a trauma-informed, survivor-centered, empowered position. So they know the complexities of situations like that. They can provide information. They can provide support. They can talk about safety planning. They can talk about what kind of emergency shelter options there are, or connect them with legal resources, or have them come in to do an intake for counseling. And so there are no simple solutions. And the most important thing to do to support somebody is letting them know that you're there to support them without judgment, and that you will help them in whatever capacity they want. So whether that is, driving them to doctor's appointments, whether that is letting them stay at your house, whether that is, looking into financial resources or alternative housing situations, and just knowing that you don't have to do it on your own, because there are experts out there that do understand these complexities and do have the resources to help somebody through this process. And so the thing is to be there with kindness, compassion, and support, and be prepared for that survivor to go back.
Yeah.
Back to that abusive relationship, because unfortunately that is very common, and it happens for lots of different complex reasons.
Yeah. That number that you gave, I'll also be adding in the show notes. So if anyone's listening to this and wants to be able to, copy and paste that somewhere, or even just click a link and call, that will be in the show notes as well. What is something that you wish everyone understood about domestic violence and pregnancy? And what would you want a person that was experiencing this to hear from you?
Sure. So it's horrible that it's even happening, especially in such a vulnerable and important and pivotal time as pregnancy. And as I mentioned, it's literally one of the most dangerous times, where there is the highest risk of lethality, and just the amount of stress and all of the negative impacts that this kind of stress and this kind of violence can have on somebody physiologically, psychologically, and how there are significant impacts to the pregnancy and pregnancy itself. And so I don't ever want anybody to think that these are situations to take lightly, or that there are really simple solutions to these complex problems, because there are not. And there are resources out there that can help. There are people that are kind and compassionate and coming from places of knowledge and resources and without judgment. And so whether that is a counselor, whether that is an advocate on the Safe Line, whether that is a case manager, a therapist, trauma-informed doulas and pediatricians and midwives and doctors. So there are networks of support out there, and nobody deserves to experience violence.
Yeah.
And when there is that pattern of behavior, it doesn't get better, not long term, and that everybody deserves to have a loving, safe, healthy relationship. And every child deserves to grow up in a loving, safe, healthy home, free from violence. And these are complicated times and complicated situations. And there are laws and policies and cultural norms that make all of this even more difficult.
Absolutely. I think that just, you're right, that makes it even more complicated, especially when there are those cultural backgrounds and different thought processes. And, those children, the people who are abusing learned that somewhere, or had something modeled for them oftentimes. So I'm so appreciative that you're sharing all of this with us. Would you like to share the website, any social media handles? And of course, I'll add those in the show notes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you can always learn more. We have a very robust website. And so it's just safeaustin.org, and all of our social media handles are at Safe Austin. And we're there to help. We're there to support. We're there to help individuals make the decision that's best for them and their family. And we're living in particularly difficult times. as far as access to resources, access to bodily autonomy. And did you know that it's actually illegal to get a divorce in Texas when you're pregnant?
I did.
Yeah, I learned that when I was 12 years old. And I thought that the laws would change, and they haven't.
It's disgusting.
And
that's so wild to me.
It is.
And there
It
are
is
even
wild,
some
but
states, there are even some states where if you are married while you get pregnant, even if you're pregnant by someone else, that state recognizes your husband or your married partner as the other parent of that child, even if it's not biologically theirs, and they're responsible, even if you get, pregnant outside of your marriage. So there are just some wild laws, in different places.
And and all of those laws, I mean, it's patriarchy. It's designed to control women, and limit their opportunities and their access to resources and equality. And, a lot of them seem so antiquated, but the fact that they're still happening and there's still laws being passed every day that limit women's rights, and not just all women. I mean, all women, but certainly some populations are more vulnerable, especially if they are women of color, especially if they're members of the LGBTQ community, especially if they're immigrants, or people with disabilities. And so, though we know anybody can be victims of violence, there are people that are inherently more vulnerable, and they have far more systematic barriers to getting help. Yeah. And so that's why organizations like SAFE exist, to help lower those barriers and to understand the complexities of these intersecting dynamics for these individuals' lives, and be there to provide the most holistic and trauma-informed services for these really complicated issues.
If somebody wanted to volunteer or even donate does SAFE take donations or have volunteers?
Absolutely. So SAFE has been in the community for 51 years. And so we couldn't be the organization we are today without community support. And so whether that is being able to donate funds directly to SAFE, whether that's one time or on a monthly basis, we always have in-kind needs. So we have emergency shelters, we have a community shelter, we have supportive housing and long-term housing. We have Eloise House, which provides sexual assault forensic exams at absolutely no cost to the survivor. We have over 20 different programs to meet the needs of survivors. So we are always needing financial support as well as in-kind donations. A lot of times when people come to our shelter, they may be leaving their house in the middle of the night with nothing but the clothes on their back. And when they come, they're bringing their children and sometimes their pets. And so to leave your home with nothing, that means we want to provide them with those things, to provide them with their basic needs and comfort and security. And so, whether that is toiletries, hygiene products, clothing, backpacks, toys, household items, all of those things we do take. And we have lots of information on our website. So where if somebody wants to donate directly, if they want to see our wish list from our shelter, they can always see the items that we always need. If you're part of a business and you want to choose SAFE as, a partner where you come in and want to volunteer or do a donation drive, we always do things like that. We also have lots of community events that people can participate in. So we need the community, we need volunteers, we need donors, we need people to help amplify our message, just like what you're doing now. So we appreciate that. But we have lots of information. On our website, we do have a whole volunteer services team. So whether somebody's wanting to just volunteer their time to come in and help organize in the donation warehouse, or if it's something they're very passionate about and have the time, interest, and the capacity and want to go through our 40-hour core advocacy training to actually be able to have the skills and the education needed to work with survivors. So that is an option. We also realize that is not the kind of time commitment that most people can commit to. So, contacting volunteer services like, hey, there's a group of friends, we want to come in, we want to bring, donations, or we're going to do a neighborhood garage sale and we want to bring, the leftovers, or, hey, my kid is wanting to do a school project and can somebody from SAFE come and talk about the work that you do? And we're going to collect gift cards so that survivors can exercise that choice and choose the things that they need. So yes, we always need community support, and there's lots of different ways to get involved and give, and all of that is on our website.
Oh, that's very exciting. I love that. I actually, what was that? My junior and senior year of college, I was a volunteer with SAFE. So
that's
that was
great.
many, many years ago, but I was, and I worked a hotline where I would call.
That's awesome.
It was called in the middle of the night and somebody needed a SANE exam and they, needed somebody to hold their hand through that. I would show up at the hospital and be able to do that. So this is close to my heart, and it's been a long time since I've been back in that space, but I am just so thankful that you came here. I know you guys are very busy, so it means so much to me that you are willing to come and speak.
Absolutely. Anytime we have the opportunity to amplify the voices of survivors and let the community know that we're still here after 51 years and we're still growing and expanding and working to meet complex survivors' needs. And so, really appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review the podcast. It helps us reach more families who can benefit from this resource. For more resources, classes, and services, head to empoweredbeginningsatx.com or check out the Birth Baby Academy at birthbabyacademy.com. Until next time, wishing you confidence and calm on your journey through birth and beyond.